circle introduction slideshow, and we're going to go through some vocabulary here. Let's start by defining what a circle is. So by definition, we say that a circle is a set of points in a plane that are equidistant from a given point called the center. And if we were to kind of draw a picture here, the circle, we generally use a capital letter next to the center point. So, in this case, we would say this is circle A. So just one letter represents the circle that we're talking about. And again, we use the center point to recognize that. Now we're going to talk about the main parts of a circle. Some of this you're going to be probably real familiar with. Maybe a few of these words maybe not so familiar with. The first one is a radius. I hope we all know what a radius is. We say the radius is the distance from the center to any point on the circle. So if I were looking at my picture, if I drew in a line from A to any point on the circle, which we'll call that point B, we would say in this picture AB, segment AB is a radius. We say the diameter. This is the distance across the circle. And again, it's important that that distance passes through the center. Which again, if I were to draw that into my picture here, we could say that EF is a diameter. It's passing through the point A. Now we have three other terms here that might be new terms for you. The first one is a chord. So we say a chord is a segment with endpoints on the circle. So in the circle here, you could say that a diameter is a chord. So segment EF is a chord. I'm going to draw in another one here. We'll call it XY. So in this picture, you could say EF is a chord, you could say that XY is a chord. Again, it's a segment where the endpoints are on the circle. Two more types of lines. Next one would be considered a secant line. Now we say a secant line, this is a line that intersects the circle at 2 points. So basically it passes through the circle and doesn't stop. So I'm going to draw another little picture over here to the side so I don't have to keep scrolling up and back. So I have this circle B over here to the side, a secant line would look something like this. So in that picture, CD, line CD, would be a secant line. Now, the thing that gets a little tricky as you're looking at this, we could also say segment CD is a chord if you're just going from point to point, but the whole line itself would be a secant line. Last one is a tangent line. This is just simply a line that touches the circle in exactly 1 point. So if I were to draw that into my picture, we could say in this picture line EF is a tangent line. Now, one of the other definitions, we're not going to write this out, but we would say that point E, that is a point of tangency. Hopefully that makes sense to you. If this line is tangent to the circle, E is the point of tangency. So chord, secant, and tangent. Any questions on those, on that terminology? While we're talking about tangent lines, I'm going to use this this slide right here from the slideshow to kind of talk about tangent lines for a second. So when you're thinking about circles and their intersections, circles can intersect in really 3 different ways, or they can be drawn in 3 different ways. In this picture number 1, you can see they can intersect at 2 points. Be kind of like the Olympic rings, that kind of thing. We can have circles that are tangent to one another, and we use the terminology external tangent and internal tangent. So notice here, when the circles are tangent and my line just kind of goes outside of the circle, that would be external. Notice here we've kind of got kind of the snowman effect here. If the line is splitting the sections of the snowman, that's an internal tangent. So external and internal tangent. And then we also have what we call concentric circles, or just circles that do not intersect. Concentric means that they look kind of like a dartboard. So the circles are within, or a target, kind of look in like they're inside of each other. and they're not ever going to cross. So we've got a couple, just to make sure you understand the difference here. Let's look at picture A down here at the bottom. In this picture A, if I were to say to you, what kind of tangent line is K, what would you say? Would you say that's an internal tangent or an external tangent? Now, is it going in between or is it staying outside of the circles? You see how it's going in the middle of them? So we would call that an internal tangent. If you look over at picture B, line M, you see how it stays outside of the circles? Everybody see that? So line M would be considered an external tangent. Okay. Let's do one last little thing here with the radius and diameter. I know this is something probably that you already know how to do, but I want to just make sure we're clear on this in terms of the formulas. If I gave to you the radius, if I told you the radius of the circle is equal to 5 meters, it'd be a big circle. If the radius is 5 meters, can somebody tell us what the diameter would be? Bryce? 2.5. Not 2.5. Lexi? It'd be 10. So remember, the diameter is twice as big as the radius. So we're going all the way across the circle for the diameter. If I told you that the diameter was 5 meters, then Bryce, what would the radius be? 2.5 meters. Okay? So do we understand the difference there on the radius and diameter with that? Okay. Then the last thing I want to do before we start talking about angles and arcs is I want you to go to this slide right here. Now I want you to take a few minutes on your own, and I want you to see if you can match up the correct answers for 9 through 16. So just on your notes there, number from 9 to 16, and then label the correct letter next to each one of those numbers. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go through these. You can kind of check your answers, see how many of them you got right. So number 9, point D, that would be a point of tangency. So 9 would be letter E. Number 10, line FH. Line FH would be an internal tangent. So common internal tangent, that would be letter G as in goat. Number 11, CD, that is a radius. So that would be point D as in dog. Number 12, line segment AB, that would be considered a chord. So number 12 would be point B or letter B. 13, I hope everybody got 13 right. 13 is the center. C is the center, so that'd be letter A. 14, segment AD. That's the distance across the circle through the center. That's a diameter. So that'd be point or letter C. 15, line AB that passes through the circle. That would be a secant line. So 15 is letter H. And then 16, line DE, that is a common external tangent. So DE 16 would be letter F, as in frog.